Hi, this is The Business Guy. Let's talk about the Tesla safety score. In fact, I just read the Tesla website on the topic word for word, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I've learned and what you can do to improve your safety score. Then I'm going to go into detail about the 5 safety factors. Then I'm going to take you out for a little test ride and show you how to raise your safety score in the real world. Now, here's why it could be important to you. According to the Tesla website, if you paid for full self-driving, once your safety score reaches at least 98 and have driven at least 100 miles for at least a week, you can receive the full self-driving beta, which basically gives you turn-by-turn autopilot on surface streets. And second, Tesla anticipates using the safety score to eventually determine your insurance rates. So the higher your safety score, the less you pay for insurance. And third, more importantly, it's working great so far. Tesla has calculated that customers using the safety score are 30% less likely to be involved in a collision. In fact, that alone, potentially saving your life, justifies its introduction independent of its role in Tesla insurance or full self-driving beta. So you can improve your safety score by improving each safety factor. So we'll talk about the 5 safety factors in detail that Tesla looks at to determine your safety score. Then I'll give you my tips. Since I've been using them, I've gotten either 99 or 100 each day I've used them. Plus, I'll be doing another video on full self-driving beta once it's enacted. So right up front, here are the most important 4 things that I've learned that you can use to improve your safety score. And if you appreciate the summary, please click the like button below so YouTube promotes it. Thanks so much. And you can also click the subscribe button and notification bell so that when more videos come out like this, you'll be up to date right away. Now, so we have a foundation for the 4 tips I'm going to give you. Here are the 5 safety factors that Tesla uses. 1, forward collision warnings per 1,000 miles. 2, hard braking. 3, aggressive turning. 4, unsafe following. And 5, forced autopilot disengagement. So tip number 1, space, the final frontier. Give the person in front of you space. Think about it. Giving space to the car in front of you covers 3 out of the 5 safety factors. If you give the person in front of you space, you won't get forward collision warnings, at least not many. You won't have to slam on your brakes and get dinged for hard braking. And of course, you won't get an unsafe following penalty. We'll talk more about that later and what to do if somebody suddenly pulls in front of you. Now, unsafe following is the proportion of time where your vehicle's headway is less than 1.0 seconds compared to the time that your vehicle's headway is less than 3.0 seconds to smashing into the guy in front of you. Now, this varies with speed, so pick a spot on the road or a street sign, and when the back of the car in front of you passes it, count 3 seconds. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. And if the front of your car is passing the spot on the road or the signpost within 3 seconds, back off. So give space to the car in front of you. That is the most important tip. Tip number 2, don't use your brakes unless you have to. Instead, to stop, take your foot off the accelerator and the regenerative braking will stop for you. Now, of course, if you do need to use your brakes or do anything else we're talking about for safety reasons, by all means, do the safe thing, not the safety score thing. If you need to slam on your brakes to avoid a collision, by all means, heck with the score, just be safe. But other than that, I found that stopping at stop signs and stoplights by taking my foot off the accelerator and then stepping on the brake once I'm at a complete stop, I haven't gotten any hard brake penalty since then. Now keep in mind, this penalty is not how hard you push the brake, it's how quickly you stop the car. Specifically, a decrease in the vehicle speed of larger than 6.7 miles per hour in 1 second, which is pulling more than 0.3 Gs. So if you see a bunch of cars at a stoplight, it's not going to get you there any faster by rushing up to them and then slamming on your brakes before you get to them. So start slowing down well in advance of approaching a vehicle, pedestrian, bicyclist, or other object. Tip number 3, turn like a grandpa. Turn slowly. Aggressive turning means lateral acceleration of greater than 0.4 Gs in either the left or the right direction. Now, it may feel cool to have your wheels squeak when you turn, but it'll make your safety score squeal. So slow down before you go into a turn and then gently accelerate out of the turn. So turn slowly. And finally, tip number 4, really pay attention to the warnings to put your hands on the wheel. Forced autopilot disengagement. That's where the car gives you several warnings to put your hands on the wheel and you don't do it. Once you get caught ignoring the warnings, you can't use your autopilot anymore. Can't use cruise control, etc. until you pull over, stop the car, open the door, and then take off again. Now, I personally hardly ever get a forced autopilot warning, but I was taking the family up to Disney recently, and we were all talking up a storm, and I could have kicked myself for not paying attention. I got a forced autopilot disengagement penalty. So I pulled over at the next rest stop, and nobody needed to get out, so I needed to stop the car. I opened up the door, I got out, closed the door, then I opened the door again, got back in, so I could use the autopilot again. And that gave me a big ding on my safety score. So you can put some resistance on the wheel, just enough so you don't disengage the autopilot. You can use the turn signal, use the thumb dials on the steering wheel. Any of these things will reset the clock on the 30 to 45 second reminder to touch the steering wheel. So those are my 4 big tips to increase your safety score. So what's the nitty-gritty detail about how the safety score works? We're going to go into some important detail about the 5 safety factors. Again, that's number 1, forward collisions per 1,000 miles, number 2, hard braking, number 3, aggressive turning, number 4, unsafe following, and number 5, forced autopilot disengagement. Forward collision warnings. You can improve this safety factor by A, maintaining a safe following distance from the vehicle in front of you to give you enough time to react to slower or stationary vehicles, and B, pay attention to the other vehicles on the road and reduce speed in traffic congested areas. Number 2, hard braking. Tesla says to improve this part of your score, you A, engage the brake pedal early when slowing down, coming to a stop, or reacting to a change in your environment. And B, use the regenerative braking whenever possible and safe to do so. C, maintaining a safe following distance because this reduces the instances where the brake pedal needs to be applied with extreme force. And 3, aggressive turning. What Tesla says about aggressive turning. When turning, changing lanes, or rounding a corner, do so gradually. How? You reduce your speed heading into the turn, gradually accelerating out of the turn. And secondly, do not unnecessarily jerk the steering wheel. Number 4, unsafe following. The key to this, do not tailgate or drive close to the vehicle in front of you. Maintain a following distance of several car lengths to the vehicle in front of you to have sufficient time to react at its speed. In fact, I set my distance at 7 on my autopilot just to get used to it. When I'm not on autopilot, I'm used to that distance, and if somebody cuts into your buffer, don't get mad. Just back off and give them room. You're not really going to get there much faster by squeezing up to the car in front of you to keep the cars from cutting into your safe following distance. Somebody says, oh yeah, well, you've never driven in Los Angeles. Oh yes, I have. I lived there for 20 years. I lived in congested Seattle for 10 years. I drove in New York City, Atlanta, San Francisco, Miami, Chicago, Philadelphia, Dallas, and so on. So also remember that driving at higher speeds in inclement weather or in slick road surfaces require a greater following distance to allow sufficient time to react safely. Now get this is important. Unsafe following is only measured when your vehicle is traveling at least 50 miles an hour and is incorporated into the safety score formula as a percentage. Now, unsafe following, while on autopilot, is not factored into the safety score formula. Number 5, forced autopilot disengagement. Only use the various autopilot features as described in your owner's manual. Pay attention to the road and maintain your hands on the steering wheel when the autopilot system is engaged. As you probably know, if you have a Tesla, Auto Steer detects your hands by recognizing slight resistance to the steering wheel, or from you manually turning the steering wheel very lightly without enough force to overtake the steering. Auto Steer also qualifies with your hands as being detected if you engage a turn signal like we said before, or use a button or scroll wheel on the steering wheel. The Safety Score Beta is the first release of the safety score, which is an assessment of your driving behavior based on the above metrics called safety factors. And these are combined to estimate the likelihood that your driving could result in a future collision. Tesla combines your daily safety scores up to 30 days to calculate the aggregated safety score displayed on the main safety score screen of the Tesla app. And then you can find details about your daily safety score by selecting the daily details at the bottom of the screen. The Safety Score Beta is intended to provide drivers transparency and feedback of their driving behaviors. Now let's go ahead and go for a little ride and see how this works in the real world. Okay, so let's take a little trip to the grocery store, and we'll use the principles that we learned. You'll notice the stop sign. There's a pedestrian with the dog. Hello, neighbor. When we approach the stop sign, I'm not going to put my foot on the brake. I'm just going to let my foot off the accelerator, okay? Now it's off the accelerator, it came to a complete stop. I didn't touch the brake. Now if I want to touch the brake here, that's fine. But it's not how hard you push the brake. Again, it is how quickly the car stops. So it is a little bit confusing when you see that it's hard braking, but it's really not hard braking, it's fast stopping. I think that's what they should name it, because that's what it really is. Because if you are at a full stop and you push your foot down super hard on the brake, you're not going to get a penalty. It's if you put your foot down super hard on the brake while you're going quickly, okay? That's when you're going to get the penalty. So there's another stop sign. Now notice I'm not going to put my foot on the brake here. I'm just going to let my foot off the accelerator, let it stop itself so I don't get any fast stopping penalties here, okay? Put my turn signal on, okay? Complete stop. Okay, now looking left and right. Here's a car coming. I think smashing into that car would probably cause a problem with the safety score. So we're going to go ahead and turn here. Okay, and notice the car in front of him. I'm going to keep a lot of distance because again, like we talked about, that's going to be three things. Following too closely, that's a penalty. Stopping too quickly, because they stop quickly. And so those are the kind of things. See, I didn't put my foot on the brake there. I just stopped with taking the foot off the accelerator. So notice the distance I'm keeping from the car in front of me. And, you know, I've lived in cities that were very, very congested, like Los Angeles. And when you're on the highway, it's a bit challenging not to be right on the tail of the guy right in front of you, because otherwise somebody will just keep on filling the gap, filling the gap, filling the gap. So you really are kind of resistant to giving that gap because somebody's just going to squeeze there right in front of you. Oh, there's the Goodyear blimp up there. So staying between the lines. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on the autopilot here. I guess it's not autopilot, is it? Yet. It's just the staying within the lines and stopping at the stop signs. Now notice that I'm not going to get any close following unless I'm going over 50 miles an hour, right? So that's how the rules work. So again, another stop sign. Now watch this turn. I'm going to go ahead and turn, but I'm going to turn slowly. I'm going to turn like a grandpa, really slowly, so there's not a whole lot of sideways acceleration, because there are instruments on Teslas that will test how quickly, or measure how quickly you turn, and really the centrifugal force of pulling out sideways is measured by the car. And if you turn too quickly, you get dinged. You lose points on your safety score. So those are some things to really pay attention to. But the biggest one is the distance, and that's the one that really caused me the most problem in the beginning when I was learning how to use the safety score and how to raise my safety score, was the following too closely. And sometimes I got aggressive turning when I'd look at the app later at the end of the drive and thinking, gosh, when did I turn aggressively? I don't remember turning aggressively. So, but it detects it if you have too much of this sideways sway, this slide. Okay, so go ahead and pull your nose in there, please, ma'am. She's way past the limit line. That limit line is there for a reason. You're supposed to stop at it. But anyway, we're at the grocery store, so that just kind of is some real life examples of things you can do to raise your safety score. So I wanted to do a real life drive with you so we could see how this thing works in action. So I hope you enjoyed this video on improving your safety score. If you appreciate this video, please click like, be sure to subscribe, and share this video with others. This is The Business Guy.